Hey friends, today we have a very unusual episode. Usually, when we hear the phrase, that's just a myth, we immediately expect someone to explain why a popular story is fake. But what if some myths that sound completely unbelievable are actually true? Yes, today we've collected 10 facts that sound like urban legends, internet rumors, or stories someone tells you at a party after too much coffee. But the most interesting part is that each of them has a real basis. And some of these are so strange that after this video, you'll probably want to tell someone else about them. So let's get started. Number 10. Water heated in a microwave really can explode. Let's begin with something almost everyone has at home: a microwave. Many people have heard the scary story that water heated in a microwave can suddenly burst out or even explode right inside the cup. Sounds like a typical internet warning, right? But this can actually happen. The reason is that water in a microwave can sometimes become superheated. That means it can go above its normal boiling point while still looking completely calm. Then you take the cup out, add sugar, drop in a tea bag, or simply move it slightly, and suddenly the water boils violently and splashes out. Of course, this doesn't happen every day, and the chances are pretty low, but it is still a good reason to be careful. So if you just need to boil water, the good old kettle is usually the safer choice. Number 9. Your phone may be dirtier than a bathroom door handle. Here's a fact that may make many people want to clean their phone immediately. We hold our phones all day long. We put them on tables, take them outside, bring them to work, use them on public transport, and sometimes even take them into the bathroom. But how often do we actually clean them properly? Studies have shown that phones can be full of bacteria. In one comparison, mobile phones were found to be even dirtier than bathroom door handles. And if you think about it, that's not really surprising. Bathroom door handles are at least cleaned from time to time, but many people don't wipe their phones for days or even weeks. The funny and slightly disgusting part is that we touch our phones constantly, put them near our faces, place them next to food, and use them after touching all kinds of surfaces. So this myth is definitely worth remembering. And maybe after this video, it's a good idea to wipe your screen. Number 8. Coca-Cola really used to contain cocaine. Today, Coca-Cola is one of the most recognizable drinks in the world. The red label, the bubbles, the holiday commercials, summer, movie theaters, fast food, all of this has become part of popular culture. But this drink has a very unusual history. One of the most famous myths says that Coca-Cola once contained cocaine. And as strange as it sounds, early versions of the drink really did use ingredients connected to coca leaves. Of course, it was a completely different era. Back then, many substances were viewed differently, medicine was different, and food and drug regulations were much weaker than they are today. Modern Coca-Cola, of course, does not contain cocaine. But the fact itself is still surprising. A drink that is now sold in almost every supermarket once had such an unusual ingredient in its history. Number 7. Most American dollar bills have traces of cocaine on them. Since we're already talking about cocaine, here is another fact that sounds like an exaggeration. There is a belief that a huge number of dollar bills in the United States contain traces of cocaine, and this is actually true. The reason is pretty simple. If one bill becomes contaminated, it can go into an ATM, a cash register, or a money counting machine, where it touches many other bills. As a result, tiny traces can spread further and further. Of course, we are not talking about an amount that can affect a person's health. These are microscopic traces. But the idea still sounds crazy. An ordinary bill you use to buy coffee may have passed through hundreds of hands, pockets, wallets, and machines. Money is already not the cleanest thing in the world, but this fact makes its journey even stranger. Number 6. The eighth U.S. president was the first president born as an American citizen. Many people automatically assume that the first president born in the United States was George Washington. And that sounds logical. After all, he was the first president of the United States. But there is an interesting detail here. George Washington, like several of the presidents after him, was born before the United States became an independent country. In other words, he was born in the British colonies and was technically a subject of the British crown. The first president who was born as a citizen of the United States was the eighth president, Martin Van Buren. He was born on December 5th, 1782, in Kinderhook, New York, after the Declaration of Independence. When Van Buren became president in 1837, he became the first U.S. president who had been born as an American citizen. And that's pretty interesting, because his name is not nearly as famous as Washington, Jefferson, or Lincoln. But Van Buren holds a very unusual place in American history. He was the first president who belonged to the new country from birth, not to the old British colonial world. Number 5. One man landed a plane in Manhattan twice. Manhattan is full of skyscrapers, traffic, narrow streets, and crowds of people. It seems like landing a plane there would be impossible. But one man did it not once, but twice. His name was Thomas Fitzpatrick. According to the story, after making a bet, he took a plane and landed it on a street in Manhattan, right near the bar where the bet had been made. The most unbelievable part is that a couple of years later, he did something similar again. And yes, both landings happened at night and in very difficult conditions. Today, something like this is almost impossible to imagine. Security, cameras, police, airports, and airspace control are much stricter now. But that's exactly why this story sounds so cinematic. It feels like a scene from an old movie, except it actually happened in real life. Number 4. Crickets can help tell the temperature. At first, this sounds like an old folk saying. If a cricket chirps faster, it must be warmer outside. But there is actually science behind it. Crickets are cold-blooded creatures. Their activity depends on the temperature around them. When it gets warmer, the chemical processes in their bodies speed up, and they chirp more often. When it gets colder, they chirp more slowly. There are even formulas that can help you roughly estimate the temperature by counting the number of chirps over a certain period of time. Of course, this won't replace a weather app, but the idea is still pretty cool. Nature basically gives you a tiny living thermometer. Number 3. Twins can be born weeks apart. Usually, when we think of twins, we imagine them being born almost at the same time. One baby, then the second baby, and everything happens on the same day. But in rare cases, twins can be born with a long gap between them. In one case, a woman gave birth to one baby, and then her contractions stopped. Doctors decided that it would be better for the second baby to stay inside and continue developing for a while longer. As a result, the second twin was born several weeks later. Technically, they are still twins, but they have different birthdays. Just imagine, two people developed together in the womb, but on paper, one of them can be almost 2 months older than the other. It sounds like a biological paradox, but cases like this really can happen. Number 2. Snakes really can appear in toilets. This is one of those fears that many people think is just a childhood horror story. You know, the idea that a snake could suddenly come out of the toilet sounds too ridiculous to be real. But the uncomfortable truth is that sometimes it really does happen. Snakes are good swimmers. They can hold their breath for a long time, and in some situations, they are able to move through pipes or sewer systems. Of course, this is very rare, and most people will never experience anything like it. But stories about snakes being found in toilets are not completely made up. This fact works so well because it instantly creates a reaction. Even if someone is not afraid of snakes, The idea of walking into a bathroom and finding an unexpected visitor in the toilet sounds like the beginning of a horror movie. Number 1. The Pentagon has a plan for a zombie apocalypse. And finally, here is the strangest and most entertaining fact on the list. The Pentagon really has a plan involving zombies. At first, this sounds like a joke or the plot of a TV show, but the point is not that the military seriously expects the dead to rise from their graves. Plans like this can be used as training scenarios. A zombie apocalypse is a useful fictional situation because it allows people to practice responses to chaos, mass threats, broken infrastructure, and the need for coordination between different agencies. So, yes, the scenario sounds ridiculous, but the purpose is actually serious: preparation, logistics, and testing emergency systems. Still, you have to admit, the phrase, the Pentagon has a plan against zombies, sounds way too cool not to put it in first place. So, there you have it: 10 myths that turned out to be true. Some of them are funny, some are a little scary, and some simply make you look at everyday things in a completely different way. Let us know in the comments which fact surprised you the most: dirty phones, Coca Cola's strange history, snakes in toilets, or the Pentagon's zombie plan. And if you want more unusual facts like these, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.